Hi, this is the fourth and final Scratch video showing you the aspects of the baseball program you're going to need to write for your assignment. And in this video, we're going to start with a blank palette, and I'm going to show you how to control some movement for the sprite around the screen. I am going to show you how to control movement differently than you've been doing in the other programs, show you how to work with a stage backdrop, and there'll be a couple other interesting aspects of the program that may come up here. I also created a more advanced version of this program, so I'll show you some creative things beyond the scope of what you're assigned to do that you might want to play with if you want to get creative with it. Now, in order to, the objective of the program is to have Scratchy here be a baseball player and run around the base paths. Well, it doesn't really make much sense to have him running around base paths if there are no base paths here. So I'll set him where more or less home plate would be, but we're going to need a background stage that looks a little like a baseball diamond. I've previously created one that will work for this purpose. I'm making it available to you, so you don't need to create one of these. And it's sitting on my computer right now, so I am going to have to upload it from my computer. Now, Stage works almost exactly like a sprite works. I have the ability to choose a backdrop from Scratch's library. You can see there is a nice big library here with a lot of options for backdrops. No baseball stadiums, though, that I can see, so we won't be using that for this particular program. And we could be creating the backdrop in the editor if I wanted to draw a baseball diamond, but I have one on my computer. Oh, it came up to pictures of the kids. I'm going into my LSP 121 folder, Module 8 and Lab, and there's my baseball diamond image. So I'll grab that and bring that in as my background stage. I don't need to make any changes to it. It actually is exactly what I want it to be. And you're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to download from D2L, save the image on your computer, and use this folder icon to find it and bring it in, and of course it automatically saves. So once you have it here, once it's showing up in the stage in the lower left, you're set to go. And you can see that Scratchy now has a baseball diamond behind him. We can give background behaviors just like any sprite. At this point we don't need to give it any behaviors, but we have the ability to do so if there were a reason to do so. Now, what we want Scratchy to do is to run the base paths. And I clicked on Scratchy here, so he comes up. I'm now, you can see that I've highlighted Sprite 1, Scratchy, and I have movement options here. Well, we've glided him in the past. We notice that he's starting right at home plate here, and the glide will always set itself where the object, the sprite is at any given point in time. So if I want to take the current position, that's where he is right now. So I'm going to just note that so I can get him back to home plate later. And where I want him to go to is basically first base. Well, there's the coordinates for first base, x of 126 and y of 25. That is 126 over to the right and 25 above the center vertically. And then if we want him to go to second base, well, there is second base. And we want him to go to third base. There is third base. And we want him to come back to home plate. And there is home plate again. Almost, I got him almost in the same place there. So those are the positions I want to move him from and to. And remember, if I want this to happen when I start the program, I need to tie it to an event. So I'm first going to make sure he is at home plate. And I can do that rather than glide him to home plate, I can do that with a go to. I've got a glide here. Let's just leave the glide in place. So that brings him to home plate to start. Let's just pause him there for a moment. And then if I want to send him to first base, that's all that's involved. So I click, he positions himself at home plate no matter where he is. In fact, let's start him in the outfield, and you'll see he comes to home plate, waits a second, and then runs to first base. Okay? If I want him to run to second base, I can attach the next glide, and notice wherever he's starting out, he's going to go to home plate for the program, wait a second, run to first base, run to second base. There's a problem, though. He's running backwards to second base. We don't particularly want him running backwards to second base, so we need to turn him around. Now, there's a couple of options for turning him around, and one option that may look to make sense would be to point him in the direction you want him to go. I've chosen motion here, and I could turn him in the direction that I want him to go, point him left, which is negative 90 degrees. But you may recall from a previous program we looked at, that isn't going to quite work for us because it's going to flip him upside down when we turn him 90 degrees. So we're going to have to take a different approach with this. And the different approach is a concept that we haven't seen before. Let me get him back the way we want him before I do that. And to do that, I'm going to just go point him back correctly to 90 degrees, and he'll stay just the way I want him there. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to create a second costume for Scratchy. And I actually have two costumes here. I'm going to introduce a different concept in a little bit. But I'm going to take this first costume. You can see the feet are wide apart. And I'm going to duplicate it. And when I duplicate it, now I've got another costume that looks just like that first costume. And I want to flip it horizontally. So now I've got a costume number 1 where he's facing to the right. Costume number 3 where he's facing to the left. And that is going to be very useful to me. Now, let's go back to the script, and let's make sure at the beginning that when he is at home plate, he is facing to the right. And to do that, we're going to have to make sure he's wearing costume number 1. I went to looks because I know that's where costumes are. And I'll say at the beginning, switch to costume number 1. Glide to first base. I'm sorry, he's going to home plate here. So in fact, that's what I want to do here. Glide to home plate, switch to costume 1, glide to home plate, wait a second, glide to first base, and now I need him to turn, so I'll have him switch to costume 3, glide to second base, and that works very well. And I still want him facing the left as he runs to third base. So I'll have him run to third base, and now I need him switching to the right, so I'll move him back to costume 1 and have him come to home plate. So he'd switch back to costume 1, come to home plate. So let's stick him out in the outfield and press the green flag. He'll switch to costume 1, move to home plate, wait a second, and then run around the base paths. Now, the activity is set up to have him just run forever. And how would we do that? Well, have him run forever, we would probably want to put him into a loop. We definitely would want to put him into a loop, and that is going to be a control. And to do that, we will attach forever, and we will put all the steps of running the base paths inside of the forever loop. Now he comes to home plate, waits a second, starts running the bases. Go ahead, Scratchy. And, oh, I haven't attached it to the green flag. So again, wherever he happens to be, he'll come to home plate, wait a second, start running the bases, always face the right direction, and do this forever or until we press the stop sign because we have him in a loop. your assignment is going to be to do this, but to do it so that he doesn't do it forever. I think we'll set up the assignment so he repeats it twice, and you can imagine that it will be the repeat until. You could do repeat until. You could do probably repeat 10 times to have him go around just the number of times that you want him to go around the loop. And that's basically what's involved here. Now, let me show you let me save this off, and let me show you, oh, I never named this. Let's name it. Let's call this baseball, and we'll call it simple. I don't know that I'll have this there for you to see. I think we may just have you build this, but that is the simple baseball. Let me show you, though, the more complex version that I've previously built down here, baseball full program, and show you some of the additional things that you could have happen in the program. All right, so I have a whole bunch of things happening here. I have, first of all, Scratchy looks like he's running rather than gliding. I'm going to show you how to do that. I have some baseball sounds in the background. I have a pitcher I've introduced who throws the ball, pitches the ball to home plate. Scratchy swings a bat and the ball goes out for a home run. The umpire comes in and says you're safe. So I've got all those things going on. Let's take a look inside at all of these activities. Scratchy's probably the most complex here, so we'll come back to him. Let's start with our pitcher. I used a break dancer sprite out of the library, and I really don't have him doing anything. I just have him standing on the mound. I have a baseball, and the baseball goes from hidden to shown in the hand, and then glides over half a second to a position at home plate. I'm playing that pop sound, same pop sound I used for dropping the referee dropping the flag, and then I'm gliding the baseball out into right field, and then as it hits the fence, hiding the baseball. So all that happens pretty quickly, 1.2 seconds after the program starts. That's the baseball. I have the bat at a particular position, so it swings over home plate. I was also careful with the bat to set the center of it to be right here at the handle, so that rather than just kind of spinning on the black stripe in the middle, it's actually spinning the way you would expect a baseball bat to spin. So having done that, the baseball bat is waiting that half a second for the ball to get to home plate. It's turning 90 degrees, basically the bat swinging. Then after the bat swinging and the ball gets hit, I'm waiting a second, and then I'm just showing Scratchy dropping the bat and kind of tossing it into the lower right area here and having it disappear off the bottom of the screen. So that's the bat. So we got baseball bat, pitcher, and then Scratchy is the big thing here. I don't know, do I have anything? Oh, the stage. The only thing I have going on with the stage is the background noise, the roaring crowd. And I have that starting when the project starts and going on for the entire length of the project. I found, here it is, the roaring crowd. I found a WAV file online that worked pretty well. I ended up, come on, let's click on it. I ended up doing some editing of the file in this editor. I marked the beginning of the file, holding the mouse down, like I'm doing now, to turn the background blue, and I chose the effect of fading it in so the crowd noise gets gradually louder. This particular sound had a loud point I've timed it about when the ball gets hit, and then it gets louder again near the end when he crosses home plate. To do this, I had to edit out some of it, so I cut some of it out and basically, created the sound I wanted. So that's what's going on in the background. Then with Scratchy, He's doing a lot of stuff. He is going to his position. He is a right-handed batter. So instead of being on home plate, I have him off to the side so he can swing the bat over home plate. He gets into his first costume. And well, I got something interesting going on here. I want Scratchy to have the effect of running. And to show you the effect of running, let me exit this program and go into another program that shows the running effect very well. So to do that, I'm going back to my stuff and going, I'm in the studio. Actually, I'm just scrolling down my stuff here, but this is in the studio. Full 167 frame Scratch Cat running. Now, this is somebody else's program. You can see here Danielle Costa and Griff Patch. And just as you can take a program and modify it for your own needs, that's what I've done here. And I've made some notes about the changes I made. And if we just watch the program happening, the original authors did some really neat stuff with the background to create the effect of moving through space. What I want to show you here is just the part with Scratchy and how Scratchy runs. So let's go inside the program. Let's stop it for a moment. And here's what's going on with Scratchy. Scratchy has well, he has a whole bunch of costumes here that they've created. And you can see there's each one has the legs in different positions. And it looks like there's a whole bunch of them that the original authors created, about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. Let's see, walk 2, 2B, walk 3, 3B, 5 or 6 different, 7, maybe 8 different positions of Scratchy's legs, and they took some time to create that. The library only gives you 2. So they've got a fairly sophisticated set of costumes, and what they're doing is they're basically going from one costume to the next costume to the next costume as he's moving forward. Change X by 5. And so that's the repeat here. 92 times it changes costume, you increase X, you change costume again. We probably don't need both change costumes here. Probably just one of those change costumes would work, but we're changing costumes, moving them to the right, changing costumes. So the legs, it's almost like one of those flip books where you see the cartoon image change on each page of the book. We're seeing the costume change as he's moving through. And we are basically, when he hits the right edge of the screen, he loops around and comes back to the left edge. So he can be doing this, as you can see, forever. It takes about 92 times to go through this, 92 times to get across the screen, and then he comes back to the left side and continues on. And again, we watch him go and gets to the end and comes back to the left and gets to the end and comes back to the left. And you get the idea there. He just keeps going. I'm not sure why the original authors set the size to 50%. That's 50% of the original. That may only need to have been set once. Yes, Scratchy is smaller than he was in the original. We probably only needed to set that once, but it is being set on the forever loop. And then the trees and the grass are moving right to left on their own kind of timeline, which creates the full motion effect. All right, so having seen that, we can come back to the full baseball program, and let's go into my stuff and the full baseball program. And what I'm doing with Scratchy is basically this. I have 4 costumes for him. I have facing right, I have 1 leg position and a 2nd leg position. Facing left, 1 leg position and a 2nd leg position. So it's not quite as fluid as is running in the other program, but it still gives the effect of the legs pumping here. And I need the 2 sets because I need him facing right for home to first and third to home, and I need him facing left for first to second and second to third base. So we come and look at the script, and we can see, all right, he's first home to first base. There's the 2. Well, actually, I have him from the batter's box. You notice I'm repeating this just twice. From the batter's box, I move him over to home plate. That's just 2 times. And then 11 times, I'm repeating the churning that gets him from home plate to first base, and then we switch to the other two costumes, and 11 times to get there, 11 times here, and then I think I did 14 times because I wanted him to cross home plate, and then at the very end, 10 times to just kind of take him mostly out of the picture there. So that's all the running I have him doing. The other thing that's happening is each time he turns his leg, the X position changes by 12 and the Y position changes by 12. So by changing X and changing Y, we are basically moving him on a diagonal. And where appropriate, I have it going positive, positive, then negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative to get the 4 compass directions. So that I basically have repeat loops inside of, I have a loop to home plate, a loop to first base, second, third, a loop back to home plate, and then I've got another loop to move them off the screen. This extra part here is the umpire. I'll get to that in a moment. So again, he swings the bat, runs to first, runs to second. You can just see how he's moving himself around. Now, the way I dealt with the umpire, I could have timed all this out, but I decided I didn't want to try timing it to get the umpire there at the right time, basically because I was playing with the speed that Scratchy was moving at. So rather than the timing, I wanted to trigger an event to happen. Let's take a look at the umpire sprite, and you can see, all right, when I start the program, he goes off screen and hides, and he's going to get triggered by a message that is going to have him show up, slide into position, wait a second, and then say you're safe. This ended up not being used. I ended up attaching the cheer to the stage, so I can just get rid of this. Didn't need to be there. So what is it that this message is? Well, let's take a look at this. It's a magic wand because I borrowed a magic wand sprite to create this. I took that magic wand sprite. I matched this background color of brown. I had to bring that into an external editor to see exactly what the color was. I matched the color, and then I created a costume basically by deleting. I use this delete here, and I deleted all the stuff I didn't want from the magic wand, and it left me with just this little brownish bar, and that's what I wanted, a little brownish bar. And I took that costume and I laid that costume, let's see if I can find it now, there it is. I laid that costume on the base path, and because it's the same color, it's invisible. And here's what the script says. Go back 4 layers when you're, what does the script say here? Hold on. All right, so all that this magic wand is doing is it's sitting there. The go back 4 layers puts it behind the other sprites, and I want it behind the other sprites, especially behind Scratchy, so when Scratchy would run the base path, Scratchy would be basically run on top of this wand, and you just wouldn't know the wand is there. Now, how am I using the wand? Here's how I'm using it. We have to take a look at Scratchy to see how I'm using it. When Scratchy is running, if he touches the magic wand, then I want to broadcast a message. I could call the message anything. I left the default in there, message 1. So to do this, I had to create an if-then control. And I brought in an if-then control. I had to sense that something was being touched. So I chose touching. And then it asks me, well, let's see, I got to put that in there with a white. It asks me, well, what is it that you want to touch? Well, we could touch any one of the sprites. We could touch the edge of the screen. We could touch the mouse pointer. And any one of these things could have an effect, send a message. In fact, I could have had when the ball touches the bat, something happens. I did the ball and the bat with timing, but I actually could have had it test for touching, and when it touched, have the ball change position, change direction, and shoot out over the outfield fence. So touching is useful in that sense. And then I wanted to have something happen. Well, we're going to broadcast here. That's an event. And we're going to broadcast message 1. So I bring it in here. And that's basically what I did. It broadcasts the message to the entire project, so anything in the project set up to receive the message can then do something with it. So it's a way to communicate. Now, if I wanted the message to have some meaning, I could have created a new message, given it a meaningful name, and used that. But I didn't need to. So that's basically what I did, and it's sitting in there. Let's see, can we make that whole thing go away? Yep. So, and then with the referee, he's just sitting off stage until he receives message 1. When he hears message 1, he goes from hidden to shown, changes his position, gliding into stage, and waits a second and then says, "You're safe." So all that is triggered by Scratchy here crossing over the magic line, which I guess is kind of aptly named. There he goes. Umpire slides in, waits a second, says you're safe. And that's the way I built onto this program. Feel free to try any enhancements you like, and good luck with the assignment.